I want to call these November tips, but not only do they work in November, but more specifically, they work in the fall, because I realize some of you are watching maybe from Australia where it's spring there, and but fall is coming. And so you can think back to fall. So rather than call it November tips, let's just call it fall tips. What are we, about 6 weeks now into fall, which I find amazing that we're that far along. It'll be winter before you know it. Well, Carrie in Colorado just sent me this picture today, and look at that. Oh my gosh. When I saw this, I thought that's a lot of snow, right? And I thought that is at least, what is that? The deep box is 9 inches. So that's at least 12, 13 inches of snow on top of that hive in Colorado. Carrie, if you're watching, oh my gosh, thanks for the photo. But what I wanted to bring up is I was impressed with Carrie's windbreak behind the hives. Do you see that? It didn't really help much. Look at the top of the hive. But no, I like that windbreak. I'm going to have to find out what that material is. Maybe you guys can leave a comment in the chat of what that material is. It looks like it's 3 feet material that she went between some of those fence posts there. But let's talk about windbreak. That's critical. I don't think everyone realizes how windy some parts of the U.S. are. I've been to other states and I've been into other bee yards. I just don't see the wind like I see in Illinois. Oh my gosh, our winds are just horrible. And my poor bees are out there sometimes in 20-mile-an-hour winds, but 20 below 0 Fahrenheit, and wind chill factor. And it's just brutal. So hard on the bees. Yeah, Carrie says the windbreaks are tarps. Oh, 10 mil. Okay. Hung on the bear fencing. Okay. That's good to know. I like that. All right, good. Vinyl signs, huh? Yep, vinyl. I did get some vinyl signs one time. Highway, I got those big. I got them off the big highway signs, and yeah, I used those one time. But yeah, I'm gonna have to. I keep saying I need to provide more windbreak for my bees down there, but I never do. I get a little bit too lazy, I think. So anyway, now's a good time to put windbreaks up. Like now's a good time to put up Christmas decorations outdoors because it's not freezing outside, but I always wait till it's freezing. But windbreaks right now would give you a chance to do it while it's still warm enough. The ground's not frozen to drive in fence posts. So do think about a windbreak. I really do feel that the windbreaks do as much help in bees in the winter than do wrapping your hives. I really do. Bees are quite capable of staying warm, a healthy colony. But boy, no matter how, healthy the bees are, that wind can just pull away so much heat. But a windbreak is going to help a lot. So that's one thing that we need to be doing in the fall. How about this? How about a propolis seal? A lot of people are worried that if they open up their hive, particularly after it cools off in the fall, that we break the propolis seal. And propolis, by the way, is that sticky substance that bees get from various trees and plants. And they use it to help seal cracks around their hives. And, they'll propolize your inner cover or your top cover down to the boxes. And if you open your hive up, many people fear that breaking the propolis seal, because when the propolis is warmer, it has a way of kind of gluing together whatever it touches, the top down to the bottom or something. The problem is if it gets really cold and you open it, we fear that the propolis also gets really hard, that it will never kind of glue things together again. But rest assured, in my observation, it does. Because even though it's cold outside, there's a lot of heat that the bees are producing. There's a lot of heat that's hitting the boxes themselves. And so it's more than likely that you'll experience days where that will reseal pretty quickly, actually, barring that you don't live where it's miserably cold constantly. But if it gets above freezing and you get some sun, that's going to reseal. Now, this is especially something to think about for those of you using our Winter Be Kind boards, which I think we've officially sold out of. But if you're using the Winter Be Kind, you do need to swap them in the wintertime. And so we fear that, it's so cold that if I break that propolis seal, my top's going to blow off. That is the case. That can be the case. I've noticed it for me when I change it. It's so cold here in Illinois in the middle of January. I just put a cinder block on top of everything to hold it down. And that's all I need to do, even if the propolis can't hold it together. Interesting fact. We were filming, Pat and I were filming last week, I think. And I actually have a cinder block on one of my hives in the bee yard down there. And I laid one of my top covers on top of the cinder block, and it had propolis underneath the top cover, right? It was so windy that day that it was blowing bees off my frames. We just couldn't hardly film. I said, Pat, look at that top cover on top of that cinder block. And I think the cinder block is long ways sitting like this. So it's only like a 4x6 part of the block hitting the top cover. I went over and tried to see if it would come loose. A thin layer of propolis had that top cover on the cinder block edge so tight the wind could, a 20-mile an hour wind could not blow it off. So propolis is your best friend for sealing stuff off in the wintertime. Now let's talk about wrapping though. Here's a picture of what beekeepers used to do. This is actually a picture of me, but this was taken a long time ago, by the way. We used to wrap our beehives with this roofing paper. Now, at the time, roofing paper came for me in a couple of different measurements. It was a kind of a thin layer of paper, and it does have tarriness to it. And then there's also a thicker layer. Well, I would buy the thicker layer of this tar paper, and I would wrap it around the hive. That's what somebody told me to do. You know, most things we do in beekeeping, somebody tells us to do it. I don't know. It kind of worked okay. I left a little opening at the bottom before I invented the Winter Be Kind and stuff like that. But you can see here, I would just staple that tar paper down, this roofing paper down. Now, I still think, I don't know how good tar paper is for bees and all this on the outside. I'm sure it's not going to hurt them at all. It, you know, whatever. But I find that there's probably better ways to wrap hives than this tar paper, although it's pretty inexpensive way to do it, really. I like to use batt insulation that you put between walls, fiberglass. That works good for me. I do want to touch on something too, though. You know, a whole different dynamic of wrapping hives is the concept of using, it's called a condensing hive. My friend Bill Hessbaugh came up with this concept of the condensing hive, and Peggy DeSanto, who was at Iowa with us, you know, she was showing her, what is it called? Hive wrap? That's not the right name now. Can't think of it. Hive hugger. Isn't it a hive hugger? And that concept is no ventilation at all, people. No ventilation. Wrap it up. It's a done deal. I'm not saying that that's not right. I'm not saying that's a wrong way to do it. I think I've said this many times before. I like a little bit of ventilation, but like Peggy and I talked about, my ventilation is not really heavy ventilation on the Winter Be Kinds. We have a 1/8-inch slot by a couple of inches. I mean, it's just a tiny little space up there. So it's not really what we would consider ventilation, but it kind of is. It's just more so for the bees to have an escape during a warm day. But if you take the position of a condensing hive, you're putting all your faith that you don't need to feed your bees, right? I think it's a little more challenging with that on there. The idea is to wrap it up and it's a done deal. No condensation because they're so heavily insulated. I think it would work. She wanted to give me one and to try it. And you know, my policy, I don't take free things because then it has to be a paid promotion. And people say, well, she's not paying you. Yeah, but by law of the FTC and YouTube, if you give me something that I don't pay for and I keep it, then I have to declare it a paid promotion. And technically anybody that does get free stuff may say, subconsciously may say good things about it. So I would want to buy one and try it. That's been my policy on things that I try, I pay for it. And so anyway, I did not accept her offer, which was very kind of her. But I'm feeling like wrapping is not all that crucial except at the top of the hive. That's why our Winter Be Kinds have insulation in them. So insulation at the top is a must, no doubt. Absolutely. The sides don't help as much as wrapping or making sure you're insulating your tops. So be thinking about that. If you haven't insulated your tops, there's a lot of ways to do it. I think some companies even sell a insulated top cover. So there's a lot of ways to wrap it, but Okay. Now, another fall tip is to avoid inspections as much as you can. I just don't like, I just don't like inspecting bees in the fall. I don't. I mean, the high today here was 54 degrees. That's not warm enough to pull frames out. You'll kill brood, 54 degrees Fahrenheit. Uh, cap brood is pupating. And if it doesn't stay up in the 92 to 94 degrees, it's going to die when it's exposed to cold air. So don't do that. Don't kill your bees. And it can cause robbers on your hive. Oh, I was supposed to bring in a robber screen. I promised somebody that I would show it. Let me think. Robber screen, where are you? There's not one nearby. Maybe Sherry. You want to get one, Sherry, or not? Oh, Sherry's on the roll. She's going to get a robber screen for us. Okay, well, so I do want to talk about robber screens. And a lot of you have asked me this. How long can you keep using a robber screen? I'll probably find one by the time she gets here. Let me check. No. And so I want to talk about a robber screen and a mouse guard because sorry, Sherry. Go. Everybody's waiting on you. She had to go to a mile through here. Sherry's control center is not near this room, so she's on the move. But how long can you use a robber screen? I kind of think you can be safe using it for quite a while because your bees know how to go in and out more in the upper segment of it. But I think it's going to be harder for them to remove dead bees, so that can be a problem. And I want to show you. Thank you so much, Sherry. Okay. So let me go full screen on this. Can I do that? Yeah, here we go. Okay. So the robber screen that we like and that I use are these by Bee Smart, and they have the pins in them. And the idea of the robbers are going in here because they smell the hive, but your bees are going in and out over here, up here, and the robbers don't figure that out. So, if your bees start to die in the winter, the bottom is blocked and it might be harder to carry out their dead sisters from the top. So that's one thing to think about. Now, I promised somebody in my YouTube channel that I told you that these are also, if you can see here, look at this paperwork here. It says a universal robbing screen / mouse guard. So this is also a mouse guard. And I didn't know this until my videographer and friend, Patrick, said, this can also be used as a mouse guard. And I was like, what? How can it be used as a mouse guard? And so Patrick explained to me that you take one of these pins like this. Let's do it like this. Comes with pins, right? I think that's what the instructions say. And then you pin it down below into the bottom when you're done using it as a robber screen. Do you just stick it in like that? Oh, here it comes. This is probably where I stab my finger, and Sherry will have to come back with a Band-Aid. Am I doing it right? Because that seems awful hard. Okay, there it went. Well, you put one on both sides, like one here too. So now, if you were, let me make sure I did that right. Now, if you put it on the bottom board, that seems too big, Patrick. I got it. Sorry, my bad. Calm down. I know Patrick's like, no, you put it in the wrong place. Okay. It goes in this little hole area right here. So see, I put a hole incorrectly right there. It goes in this little square above it because that looked too tall and the plastic is much thinner here. All right, here I go. I'll get this figured out. Oh, yeah. All right. So it goes in like that. See? It goes in like that. And then when it sits on your bottom board, I'll use my Beak Squad phone for that. It's like a Batman phone, Beak Squad. So look at that. Now it's going to be about like that. Oh, there you go. And now a mouse won't go through that. So that's how this is also used as a mouse guard. There you go. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I like these. Comes with all these little pins and everything. And they do work really good. And I don't know. We sell these, but I don't know if they're in stock right now, but we do carry these. All right, let me jump back over here. All right, very good. Okay, so do be concerned about robbers, and now's a great time to start protecting your beehives from mice. Really is. Don't underestimate the power of a mouse in a beehive. And then, of course, feeding in the fall. Some of you are still in a warmer fall, and you can still feed your one-to-one sugar water, maybe with additives to kind of get more bees to raise some brood of winter physiology. Although that may be over for a lot of you, I can still get by with it here. We've had temperatures in the 50s, above 50. The above 50, they'll still eat from the top liquid sugar. Below 50 in the daytime, they're not going to eat much from the top. And that means you're going to have to start feeding them harder candy. Here's a picture of our winter bee kinds. And you can see there the more of the winter bee kind solution, the harder candy that bees are going to eat there. So that's another fall tip. Make sure you have a plan to feed your bees. Now, let's talk about feeding bees. I want to go on record as saying I personally feel, and it is of my opinion, that bees should be quite capable of overwintering without needing to be fed. That's not anything new I've just came up with. I've always said that. And I've always promoted my winter bee kinds only as emergency feeding. In other words, bees should have plenty of honey and pollen, bee bread on board to feed on all winter long. But we know we don't live in a perfect world, and we know that our bees aren't always able to store the right amount of food for the winter, and winters can be all at once terribly long, so on. So my winter bee kinds, I've always said, are emergency feed. I really want people to be assured that their bees have enough of their own food on board that you don't have to rely on feeding them all winter, right? That's the best thing. But so that's wanted to clarify that. And the last tip I wanted to give you is please stop worrying. Oh my gosh. I know early on in my beekeeping endeavors, I used to worry about my bees. Oh, it just almost made me sick worrying about my bees in the wintertime. How many am I going to lose? What am I going to come out of winter with? I've got commitments to sell nukes. And oh, that's number 3. That should be like number 5 or 6. Sorry. And, how many queens can I raise if all my hives die and I have to make splits and all? I was worried to death about it. So please don't worry. I mean, I know you love your bees and I know you want to be successful at beekeeping, but you need to take the next exit up ahead. That's the worry-free zone. Take that exit and calm down. It'll be okay. We don't have to, feel bad if our bees die. And by the way, I'm hearing from several people, I'm not going to say a lot, but several people, that a lot of bees are dying this fall already. I'm hearing that quite a bit. I've not seen it yet. Hopefully I won't, but I'm hearing that. So maybe leave a comment if you're seeing fall losses already. That's sad. Now, fall dwindle disease has been a thing since I think the 1800s, or certainly in the 1900s, we talked about fall dwindle disease, which I think got renamed colony collapse disorder. But anyway, it's always been a bad thing. It's when bees they don't have the nutrition in the fall they need to survive and they die early. So we could be seeing evidence of something like that. I don't know, but that's something to be thinking about. All right. Well, there's some tips for you to deal with November. All right. So now I want you guys to help me out just for a couple of minutes here. And I want you to leave some tips on what you're finding to be helpful for you in the month of November. What are you doing? Come on, leave a comment. What are you doing that you think is helping your bees right now in the fall that maybe I didn't mention, or maybe you can give your take on something that I mentioned, but what's really helping you out right now? Or what kind of things are you finding that was a great tip that you used in the month of November? Anybody? You got anything? I did get a candy board ordered before you ran out for the fall rescue. Oh, thank you. Doesn't fit. Oh, let's see. Doesn't fit my lands, but I'm modifying. Well, that's good. It's good. It's a good deal to modify, make things work. Beekeepers have to be resourceful. I talked about that in my video that I published today, that you have to be a problem solver or beekeeping is going to be very tough for you. So yeah, we're always having to solve problems. What other tips are you using in November? Anybody else got a great tip? They're looking for somebody with a great tip. I must have been so good that I mentioned all the great tips. I stole it from you guys. Oh, equalizing hives. Where's my pen and pencil? I need to write that down. Feed and treat. Yeah, you can still do that if the temperatures are right. Feeding, I mentioned, but treating, yeah. Ooh, hive beetle control. Yeah, no kidding. There you go. I love it when we all work together, don't we? Building a windbreak. Yeah, I mentioned that. You might have came in late, but I didn't mention a windbreak. Oh, you're watching my videos and Randy Oliver. Yep, Randy's a great guy. Enjoy him. Spoke with him in Iowa. All right. Anybody else got any great tips? One-to-one, feeding them one-to-one sugar, maybe. Oh, you got a Beak Squad tumbler in your hand. Way to go, Mike. That's pretty awesome. Where's my tumbler? Tar paper, huh? Yeah, I think that works pretty good. I always had good success with it. Having water available on warmer days still. Bees will take water. They need to dilute some of that honey that they have in their hive. All right. Well, that's cool. That's great, guys. You guys have a lot of good ideas. All right. Well, let's jump to some question time. I always want to hit the question time a few minutes before 7:30. So what kind of questions do you want to share with us today? Hey, Gary, how are you doing? You had something weird happen. I went to feed, and what little sugar water I fed last time that was left seemed to turn to jelly. Not syrup, but jelly. Any ideas? Jelly. I'm not a real good sugar expert. I have no idea. I could speculate that, maybe the humidity dried out up into the top of the jar. A little bit was left there, had a little vacuum above it, but we're going to have wiser minds to figure that out. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you used an old jelly jar and you still had, had jelly in it. Hey, Rick, I'm finding my bees in my chicken feeder, I assume going after the pollen. Absolutely. Yep. Any kind of seeds like that or chopped up grain or something has protein in it. And bees are loving protein in the fall and the spring. That's for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Anthony, I'm confused about the AZ hives. If it's inside a building with the entrance outside, how do the bees that fly out while inspecting make their way back into the hive after they close it back up? Okay, that's a good question, Anthony. AZ is the initials of the gentleman who invented or designed the Slovenian hive, which I want to use next year. And the Slovenian hive, the back of it, where you work your bees, usually is inside of a building. You build a little building and you work your bees inside there. Sometimes they're small little trailer type buildings, and sometimes they're in a house, or it's pretty neat looking. I've always wondered the same thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, all these bees are getting out during the inspection. I know that there's an answer that I'm not aware of because I'm not a Slovenian AZ hive expert. Here's my speculation that somewhere inside your building, there must be a way for bees to get out. There must be an open slot somewhere. There must be some way because, yeah, once you close it all back up, they've got to get out of the building to get back into the hive. Yeah. Somebody leave us a chat that runs an AZ hive. You can tell us that. I do want to know how to run an AZ hive. I always call them Slovenian hive. All right, Gene, why are bees able to walk on honey and not get stuck on it? Well, it has a couple of things to do with their feet, but it also has to do with their weight. That's why many insects can walk on water. That's true. A lot you've been fishing, you watch, different spiders, different kind of insects will walk on water. It just has to do with the surface tension of the water and the lightness of the insect. But yeah, you think a bee would get all stuck. Boy, a bee can get stuck pretty quick in honey, and that's sad when they get honey in places it shouldn't be. Hey, Matt, seeing lots of dead bees outside my hive, should I be worried? Okay, Matt, let's keep our fingers crossed that they're drones. Are they drones? Male bees will be terminated from the hive this time of the year. So let's go with that. If they're not, it could just be that the bees are dying of natural causes as summer bees, and the bees are doing a good job getting rid of the dead bees. Be a little concerned. Here's what you always do. Everybody listen up. Great tip coming up. I need a light bulb to go off. So always do this. Get rid of the dead bees if they're in a way where you can sweep them out. But if you've got grass or something, get a piece of plywood, put it in front of your hive. Make sure there's no dead bees on it. Put it as close as you can to the front of the hive for catch. You want to catch and see how many dead bees you're getting each day, right? The big plywood piece is going to help. Don't go 2 days because the wind will blow the dry bees away. But every day, go out there a couple times a day, look for dead bees, evaluate, are we getting more dead bees, or was that just a cleanup day? And I don't see any more now. Do that. And if you see a lot every day, you have my permission to worry. But if you don't see a lot every day, household duties. Hey, Mike, will I be safe to slip some tin under my hives to keep grass from growing up next year? Absolutely. You should do that. You can pretty much put anything under the hive. There are some things that may have some toxicity on them. I've heard that some people put their beehives on pallets, and some pallets are used to transport oily substances that leak onto the pallet. And now your bees are being exposed to possibly toxic chemicals soaked into the wood in the pallet. But if you know that whatever you're putting beneath your hive to kill the grass, a sheet of something, is not bad, doesn't have bad stuff on it, it'd be fine. What do you feel about handy lust, dry molasses? Oh, that went away. Okay. I don't think I read that right. Anyway. All right. What other questions do you have for me tonight? I got that one. At what wind flow do you put up a windbreak? That's a good question, Gene. Yeah, because I'm going to say probably anything above 10 miles an hour on a regular basis. Things below 10 miles an hour is not all that abnormal, but if it gets above 10 miles an hour, that really brings the chill factor down a lot. So think about the wind speed. You can buy a lot of weather stations. I have a handheld windometer, anemometer, and I use it in the field too, and it helps me know what the wind speeds are. Hey, Christopher, how do I determine what side to put the windbreak on? Well, that's a good question. And you're going to have to determine, you can look at a lot of stuff online from probably NOAA weather, weather places online to get a better idea where the dominant wind is in the wintertime. For me, the dominant wind is always out of the northwest here in Illinois. Now, it's strange though, because in the spring and summer, our dominant wind is always from the southwest. You can count on it every time. But when the season changes, our winds are always from the northwest. So for me, I need it on the northwest side. Now, does that mean that we won't have a bad cold wind out of the south? No, you can. So maybe you can do both sides if you feel really good about that. But also what we have to worry about is I put a fence up. There's going to be a lot of snow on one side of it and it will bury my hives or leave them with no snow. So you have to think about the windbreak becomes a snow fence. Oh, hey, Carrie, live in Indianapolis. I'm speaking in Indianapolis in December. When is it safe to remove the robbing screen? Oh, I just answered that. Sorry you came in there late, Carrie. Oh, maybe I wasn't good about saying when. I said you could leave these on, pretty much all winter. It's just harder for them to remove the dead bees up through the entrance at the very top. So I would say probably once it gets really good and cold and bees aren't robbing anymore, you can take it off. Yeah, absolutely. I would do that. Let me take an opportunity to encourage all of you to please subscribe. As you're watching here, give me a thumbs up. Appreciate it so much. And I want to thank Sherry and Jessica and Robbie. They're all trying to figure out questions to post. And sometimes they run into each other in the question room and knock each other's coffee over, and and they get a little like, oh, what question are you using? No, they're not near each other, but I'm just saying they're doing a great job. Rachel, I have access to used frosting buckets, 3-gallon food grade buckets. I'm wondering if I could offer the frosting residue from inside the buckets to my bees, chocolate, vanilla, and maple frosting. I'm not going to say yes because I could be wrong and your bees could be harmed. I'm frozen. But at the same time, I think it would be fine. I don't see it as a problem. Now, what you might want to do is test it and see if your bees want to go there and eat it. But if it's sugar and it's made of, safe things that not going to hurt bees, like if it's dark sugar, like molasses, I think somebody asked about molasses earlier. Dark sugar, brown sugar, always a no-no with bees. Caramelized sugar, stuff like that, no. But this might be fine. Look at the ingredients. Oh. Do you prefer tin covered tops or no tin on telescoping top covers? Oh, okay. Well, Mike, yeah, in the old days, we used galvanized steel, the old silver galvanized steel. I have a lot of those tops. Here recently, when the last 10 or 15 years, I've used aluminum flasking material that you can buy at most Home Depot and those kind of stores. Buy a roll of that and make your own top cover. Tin started looking really bad after no time at all. It rusts so bad. Where this aluminum works, you get painted white aluminum tops. I think that's what most big beekeeping companies are using now. That stuff lasts forever. It'll way outlast us and our grandparents. But it always has wood underneath it. I always mounted my metal on a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch top of plywood wood. So there's still that material up there. Would using a queen excluder on the entrance keep a new colony from absconding? I have written about this and I've made many videos about this. And yes, it would. It would, because, let me say no. Hang on. It will keep them from swarming. Absconding, it will help a lot. But I've seen bees abscond and leave their queen behind with a few bees, and they all leave her. So if the bees leave and, absconding, they don't always feel like they have to take their queen. It will help a lot, and I do recommend it. Now, I put it between the bottom board and the bottom deep so the queen doesn't go down and abscond that way. I do recommend it. It's not as much of a guarantee as it is with preventing swarming. Good question. Hey, Dottie. I have hive beetles in northern Maine. That's comforting. Misery loves company. Will the beetles die out in the cold? Do I need to leave beetle traps on during the winter? Oh, Dottie. So far, you get the prize for the question that I love the most because I think it's going to help people the most. And because some people don't know that beetles live with the cluster and survive winter and multiply and enjoy the warmth just like the bees. That's so depressing. I'm sorry to depress you, but small hive beetle live in the cluster and they'll just sit in there and reproduce. And when it gets warmer, they'll reproduce in whatever pollen patties you give them in the spring or late winter. Do I need to leave my beetle traps in during the winter? Yeah, I do. But remember, when the bees cluster, the cluster may be not near the traps. And so as a result, the beetles may not make it into that trap. The beetles are going to stay in the cluster with the queen and the bees. And the bees feed the bees feed the beetles. I don't know why they do. Yeah, that's a good question. I like that. Hey, Tom, love your live show and learning a lot from my venture into beekeeping next spring. Oh, you're starting next spring. Everybody give a shout out to Tom in the chat. Tell Tom you're glad that he's starting in the spring. Any recommendations or thoughts about painted versus wax dipped boxes? Oh, I have answered that a couple of times on my live stream. Maybe your first time here. Not a big preference on that. It's whatever you can afford, whatever you feel like you want to do, really. Both are very legitimate ways to protect your boxes. I have a lot of boxes with no paint on them, and those unpainted boxes are going to outlive me, and I'm healthy. I have no plans to die anytime soon, but those boxes are still going to outlive me. Unpainted. So don't go crazy and think you got to paint and got to dip. You're not trying to get these to last, the rest of the time that the planet's still here. But everybody wants to be a good steward. Wax dipping does seem to get a lot of the moisture out and replace it with wax. Commercial guys use a lot of wax dip boxes because they can't afford to keep replacing stuff. Paint looks good. You can paint any color you want. And I guess you can paint wax dip too. So it's your call. I want to thank all of you guys for making donations tonight. Appreciate it so much. Hey, Dana, got my windbreak on today. That's good. This year, the yellow jackets are really bad here in Pennsylvania. I've heard that a lot from people all over. I used to just hear it from people in the South, but now people everywhere have talked about how bad yellow jackets were. I did not see any this year, and I usually have a lot here in Illinois. I have my robber screens on, but they're still getting in the top notches. Any ideas what to do? Yep. I think if you're using one of these, then I think what you need to do, if it barely didn't fit in here. Ooh, okay, I'll get it here. If you open this side up here, I got it upside down. That's why there's no door. If you open this side up, yellow jackets and everybody figures it out. At night, you might want to switch your ruin and open it over there like that. Or if everybody figures it out, you may want to make your own robber screen similar to this, make it out of wood and screen, and go up a little bit higher, maybe 6 or 8 inches above where the opening is. You have to kind of fool the robbers once they figure it out. Yeah, they're pretty desperate. Robbers are desperate. That's why they can figure these out after some time. But usually the robber screen works enough to deter robbing and they give up. The high today was 70 here today. Would you inspect a hive in that temperature? I would, but in my teaching, Gene, earlier I said there's a risk. And the risk is you might kill your queen. You're not going to probably get anybody to send you one. It's cold at night, 30 and 35 tonight here. So if that's in the shipping lanes, that could hurt your queen. And the other thing is robbing. You could have a lot of robbing. So I didn't like working my bees this year in the fall because the robbing was so intense for me. Yeah, wasn't fun at all. Aggravated me. Hey, Jeff, bees are robbing hive. I closed my Bee Smart robbing screen. I opened it after 2 days and bees commenced to rob again. How long can I close my robbing screen to keep my hive safe from losing the bees? If it's not extremely hot outside, you can keep it closed up quite a bit because like if it rains, let's say you have a front move through and it rains for 3 or 4 days, your bees aren't flying, right? They're just inside their hive. So they're capable of living in there a good amount of time. But if it's real hot, you might be restricting airflow and it might overheat them. But if it's not real hot, I wouldn't worry about it. Close them up. And then you can deal with that. That's not a problem to do that at all. Yeah, several days. I've done that for several days. They should have enough food on there anyway. Hey, Todd, would you use an entrance reducer with the Bee Smart screen in mouse guard mode? Entrance reducer. Oh, I see. You could, because this is going to expose. I took that out, but underneath here. So underneath this, with your 2 pins holding this up on the bottom board, yeah, you could actually put something, a piece of wood, cut a piece of wood that would block a portion of that off. That's a good idea, actually. They should make it where it could do that. They do on their bottom boards. They have those little inserts. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm getting all these great ideas. Okay, Sandy. When do you put on your winter bee kinds on your hives? Do you determine it by outdoor temperatures? Yes. And however, again, I view my winter bee kinds as emergency feed only. My bees have enough food on board to make it without them, but you never know. So I like it on there, and they do eat it, even though they don't always eat their own resources. They like my winter bee kinds better. And so I put them on there about the end of December or the first week or so in January, because that's when most bees start dying for me or Illinois people, is around March toward late winter. They run out of food. So if I can get them on there early, that's going to be great, but not too early. Thank you guys for your donations. First year Beak Brian. I watched Peggy's Hive Hugger video last night and convinced me to get one. Very good. Yep. Thanks, David, for all you do to the beekeepers. I plan to use it with your Winnie Be Kind board hybrid setup. Any thoughts? No, Brian, I don't have any thoughts, but I want to hear your thoughts on that. I'd like to see, keep me apprised of how you can do that and how it works. I would feel better with food on my hives if I was going to use that. Yep. Hey, Tom, how are you? Fall tip, don't use beard balm if the bees are still flying. Even at night. They like to warm up there, and it doesn't always end well. Yeah, bees in the beard, bees in the bonnet, they always wind up stinging you, don't they? Because they want to get away from you, and they feel like you're trying to kill them. And you want the bees to get out of your hair, and they want to get out of your hair, but it never works out well. Yeah, that's crazy. Thanks for all the info. Why do you pause feeding between jar feeding and Winter Be Kind's East Coast Canada? Partly because I'm just using my jar feeding of 1-to-1 with additives to entice bees of winter physiology to be laid by the queen and taken care of by the nurse bees. I'm supporting the raising of winter bees. Once I get 4 to 6 to 8 frames of brood, I've got my winter bees. I don't need to feed them anymore. And so that usually by the end of September, they have that number in there. I don't need to worry about it anymore. If anything, you can just give them a little food so they don't have to be eating their own resources. But that's the only reason I pause it. Good question. Hey, Charlie, good to talk to you tonight. Thanks. By the way, thank you guys for being here. We've got a good crowd, over 500 or so of you that are here tonight. Big live stream for beekeeping. And it's a privilege for me to consider you my friend and supporter of the channel. So thanks for dropping in tonight. I always think everybody's time is valuable, so I appreciate you giving me your time tonight. David, do you think it's safe to put 1.5-inch blue styrofoam on the very top of the outer cover? I also used car rotors to hold it down. I don't like car rotors around beehives. I don't have any reason, but there's a lot, I think I think they're hazardous. And I think you're supposed to wear gloves when handling dusty metal or ceramic brake pads and all, I don't like that, the way that sounds. It could be safe, but to me, it's like, yeah. But I would use something more natural like rocks or stones or something. As far as the styrofoam on the outside, yeah, that's fine. And no problem with that. Whether it would provide much insulation or not, probably would help. Yeah, probably would. I mean, I put a hat on top of my hair. That works. Can you use a sock with clay litter in the top to help with moisture? That is not a bad idea. I'm not a big guy that worries about moisture in the hive because my Winter Be Kinds absorb moisture in the hive. But if I didn't have candy boards on top of my hive, I'm scared to death of moisture in my hive. I really am. I would not totally wrap my hive up because in the old days when I did it, I had too much moisture. And I know some people said it's going to work great. The condensing hive thing is supposed to work great. I've never been successful with it without an upper absorption of candy. Now there's Leah and my granddaughter Vera. Hello, Vera. We've missed you guys. Hey, hi, Papa and Nana. Good to see you. Vera, I have 13 grandchildren, but one of my grandchildren, Vera, she was misbehaving a little bit. Maybe she can't hear me at home. And her mom was kind of getting onto her. And she said, I want my Papa. So if any of you are having a hard day and you need my help, I want to help you. People view me as the guy that can comfort people. I've been told I have a comforting way about me. David, how do I isolate my hive to keep the ants out? Is there any product I can buy? I don't think so. I mean, there are feet that come with little ways that you can put oil or water in the little feet so the ants can't cross a moat. There are many mechanical ways that you can buy to keep ants out of your hive. And yeah, I know about all the other things. Some people say put Queen Anne lace in the upper entrance. Some people say put cinnamon around the place because ants use pheromones to track each other, and if you use cinnamon, they can't track each other. So I don't know. Do whatever you can, but I don't know of a really good way except don't let them get to it. Make a moat or something. Is regular corn syrup as good as high fructose corn syrup for feeding an apiary? You know what? I have heard of a lot of people feeding bees high fructose corn syrup, and there is a big group of people who really do not like high fructose corn syrup, period. And if you heat it up a long time, at a really high temperature, it becomes HMF, which is deadly to bees. Regular corn syrup, I hear that all the time too. I'm sorry. I love sugar. Bees love sugar. I'm going to go with that. Why take a chance? I'm going to do this question, then we'll have a giveaway. Oh, I saw you store a lot of your frames in the freezer. Not a lot, but some. If I don't have room to do that, what is your alternate recommendation? Would an airtight container work? No, not necessarily. Airtight won't kill the things of eggs and larvae of beetle and wax, the greater wax moth. It'll just give them a chance. They don't need a lot of air, so to give them a chance to multiply. You need to find a friend, Pamela, that has a big freezer. Maybe they're not using that. They'll give it to you, or you can find a friend that will let you store it in their freezer. Or, all you're trying to do is freeze it temporarily to kill everything on it. So if you can freeze it frame by frame, if you don't have a lot of hives, you could freeze them frame by frame and then put them in a airtight room. So you have that option. Take control of your freezer at home, move some blueberries and some salmon out of the way. And now you can, I keep my blueberries in a freezer. I used to keep them in the refrigerator and they would just go moldy on me. Yeah. All right. Well, let's do a giveaway. Tonight, we're going to do a giveaway, and it's going to be this coffee mug. So #mug, you can win this coffee mug. These scenes were taken from me making my videos. Some of these scenes, you probably watched those. Oh, got the same shirt on. It's me. That tells you how often I wash this shirt, I guess. And so anyway, this is a coffee mug, nice mug. So if you just put #mug, you could be the winner of this mug. And I think you'd enjoy drinking coffee with me. In fact, I have some coffee. Gosh, I apologize. Somebody sent me this mug as a gift, and I forget who it was now. I made a video and thanked the person that made it for me. Isn't that crazy? Wake up and be awesome. Oh my gosh, look at that. These bees are sticking. This is not what you're winning. I am not giving this mug away. No, but I'm drinking coffee out of it. So this is the mug that you're hoping to win today. All right, Robbie, let's see who might win the coffee mug today. #mug in the comment. We'll get you a mug if you live within the 48 lower states, I think they're called. We can ship it to you. All right, let's see who's going to win the mug. Here we go. Rolling. Who is the lucky winner of a mug with all my pictures on it? Oh, Michael. There you go, Michael. As you can see, scrolling by, Michael, you'll need to email us within 24 hours. And beaksquadwinner@gmail.com is the email address. Let them know you won, Michael Markham. And that way we'll get that shipped out to you. And while we're on the subject, Robbie, let's do it again. Arm up the wheels and let's have one more giveaway of the mug. I got another mug here. And so I think Robbie can do it again. If you need to get your name in there real quick, you can. But he's got it going again. Here we go. It better not be Michael Markham again because he just won. Oh, Mary Day. Congratulations, Mary. You're the winner of another coffee mug. You too, Mary. Send us an email, beaksquadwinner@gmail. It's going across the bottom of your screen, Mary. And you can email us within 24 hours and let us know that you won, and we'll get that shipped right out to you. Great. All right. Appreciate it, guys. Always like to give something away. That's wonderful. Hey, let's go ahead and throw a few more questions. The more questions I answer tonight, the less I have to answer tomorrow. Now let's try it. Hey, Jess, what is optimum? No. Oh, what is the optimal number of boxes on a hive to get through winter? There you go. Maybe 2 deeps and 1 medium. All depends on where you live. It really does. You're in the deep south. You can get by probably with 1 deep. It will live up in the north. You could still do 1 deep, but a little more management skill if you're going to do that. For the most part, if you read old literature and books and take a lot of classes, most of us say 2 deeps and a medium, like here in central US, does the trick. It gives the bees enough space that they need to raise their brood and a little bit of storage up above them. So I do like 2 deeps and a medium. That works good. Yep. I can do other ways, but I like that one. Our screen bottom board is supposed to be supported by the edges open on the bottom. Right now, mine is on top of a piece of plywood. Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, bottom boards have an edge to them, usually 3/4 inch pine, and the middle sections, they have supports that hold the screen. So it can be used either way. In other words, if you are just being supported by their edges, it gives more openness to the screen bottom board. But there's a lot of hives that I have that are sitting on concrete pads and they're sitting on other pieces of wood like you're talking about. So it only gives about this much area. It's still really effective though, because mites, if they fall off, they do fall out of the hive. They don't fall as far. They're probably not going to climb in as likely, but the ones that have a bigger or nothing below them at all, the varroa mites fall out and they don't come back in at all. Hey, Stephen, we inspected our 2 hives. We inspected our hives 2 weeks ago and didn't see any eggs, our larvae, but the queens were present. Should we be concerned? Yeah, I mean, that's tough. Is the queen not laying because it's this time of the year where queens don't lay as much and she's backed off from laying? Maybe that's her DNA characteristic. That could be the case. Or she could have failed and she just isn't laying well anymore. So I think here's the deal. Any hive that you have, all of us who have a lot of hives, we're never not concerned. Every hive we have, we're concerned about it because a hive is a living organism and there's so much that has to go right constantly. One thing goes wrong and the hive goes bad in a hurry. So we're always concerned. A bee yard, every hive is triage. It's which hive needs the most help right now. So it's hard not to be concerned about hives. I get it, Stephen. Yeah. All right, we probably got time for a couple of more questions tonight. Gifford, watched a video where they put insulation on top of the outer cover. Is that a good idea? That was asked a little bit ago. So yeah, that must be a question that's going around. It seems easy to do. You don't have to open the hive. I would rather have the insulation a little bit closer to the bees. Now, if you think about insulation, I'm not an insulation HVAC expert at all. In my house, I don't put insulation on top of my roof. I wouldn't go outside my house. I always like to use, people say I'm a simple guy. I explain things really easily, but I just kind of use this reasoning, I think. Like I've got insulation in the walls because I live up north, but I don't have insulation on the outside of my wall. So I think it works better in a particular location. I don't know. I'm not crazy about putting it on the outside. I feel like it needs to be better on the inside, but I don't have any real good reasoning for thinking that way. But I think it should be a little bit closer to where the bees are. Interesting. Let me think about that just for a second. So if I'm out in the wintertime and I put a stocking hat, okay, if I'm wearing a big coat with a big hat on and I put a stocking cap on top of my hat, the stocking cap would not do as much. But if I pull back my parka hat and I pull my stocking cap over the top of my head really tight, and then I put the bigger hat on, it would do better. But the bigger hat could be the insulation. I'm perplexed. I'm going to sleep on that one. I'll be up at 3 a.m. drawing pictures. What are your thoughts about liability insurance for someone with just a few hives? Oh, wow. Do I have a lot of thoughts about this? Second best question for the night. always get as much insurance as your pocketbook can afford. And I don't like insurance. Well, I don't like paying for insurance. I'm a guy that doesn't like paying for insurance, but I have as much as my pocketbook can afford because everybody can be sue happy. I mean, everybody is sue crazy. If you sell honey, somebody could eat it, get sick, get a good lawyer. It's your fault. You lose your house and farm. I mean, it can happen, right? Get umbrella policies. You say, well, I only sell a couple of packages, a couple of nukes. Somebody could die of anaphylactic shock when they picked up your nuke, and it could be millions of dollars in lawsuit. Please, please, you need a lot of insurance dealing with bees, whether you're running a business or not. I would get a lot of insurance. Yeah, definitely. Okay. Well, that's all the time for questions. That's live stream has come to an end and I want to cry. I feel like I want to spend the rest of the night with you guys. I love you guys so much. You're a hoot. And I've learned a lot by being with you guys. And I want to thank you for watching and please subscribe. Also, I want to thank you guys for all the donations that came in. It does take a little bit of money to make our live stream possible because we live out in the middle of nowhere. And so we have to work hard to get internet. So it does help us pay the bills to make this live stream possible. If you don't want to donate here, you can always go to our website at honeybeesonline.com. And there's a place there that you can donate to our live stream to help it keep going because we do want to keep having our live streams every Thursday night. So thanks so much. Remember, tomorrow I'm going to be answering more questions from the green chair. Probably a lot of questions here that weren't answered tonight. Maybe not all of them, but I'll try to do the best I can to answer more tomorrow. And that'd be a big help for those of you that still have some questions. But Green Chair Friday is taken off. It's getting a lot more views. People are enjoying hearing these beekeeping questions answered on Friday. So I just want to encourage you to be there Friday. So thank you guys. Wow, you mean the world to me. I love seeing new faces here tonight, new names, and I like seeing the familiar, loyal people that were here tonight. Also coming up on November the 17th, Sunday at 7 p.m. Central Time, I am having a special personal live stream with all of you that are nectar novices and Beak Squad ambassadors. That's a membership program here on my YouTube. So if you want to be a member, check it out. It's at the bottom of every video that I make. It has the word membership or join. I think it's join. And you can join before the 17th and be a part of this small, elite, exclusive membership live stream where I sit and chat with you guys about your beekeeping problems or your questions and all. That's coming up November the 17th. I sent out a post today, so be checking. If you are a member, be looking for that post. So I'm looking forward to that. Well, thanks a bunch, guys. Love you. Thanks for being here tonight. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care.